So, genuine question. Like, is in 4 years, are we looking at like another election? Like, what is Trump going to do to like? Is he going to cling to power? Like, are the is the country over as we know it? Like, what is going to happen in your opinion if he wins?
Well, I mean, the president is incredibly powerful, and this is something that liberals don't like to hear. So he can do tremendous damage. And
Mhm.
obviously, with the Supreme Court already being radically right wing, if we also lose the Senate, then you're probably going to see a couple retirements, and then the 6-3 majority will be locked in a little bit harder.
Mhm.
I think that the main thing we need to be focusing on is like getting the biggest landslide we can in the midterm. I think,
Mhm.
Donald Trump is going to do some dumbass fucking shit. People are going to hate his guts. His policies are very unpopular. And when it's just him standing on the stage, I think that, and not on the ballot, I think we have an opportunity to organize against
You're
him.
gonna see a lot of woke liberals like remember when the Democratic Party was like abolish ICE?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's not even a radical opinion because ICE was fucking created because of Bush.
Yeah, and also
why are people
forget
ICE
like
is some sort of a radical fucking position.
People forget. Yes,
the Patriot Act is new.
You're absolutely correct. From like ICE and Department of Homeland Security is relatively new, and a lot of people have forgotten that it is a relatively new thing. And they take it for granted, but I'm just simply stating that like Kamala Harris running on Medicare for all, or even voting on what I like to call like the most progressive messaging bills of all time. Whenever there's like a fucking Republican in charge and holds the Senate and the House, is exactly what the Democrats did. The Democrats were way more radical under the Trump administration than they actually ended up becoming when they were actually in power.
The one thing I would say to people, like if you're lived up and you're like, if Donald Trump wins, it's the end of the world. I wouldn't say that. Like what I would say is it would obviously be a massive repudiation of neoliberalism. It would be a massive repudiation of interventionism, of warmongering, and I think a lot of it would be an opportunity for all of us to kind of like shake off the fleas that are the last 4 years of this incredibly damaging war in the Middle East that's expanding out of control.
This is where I disagree with you 100%. I think it's an opportunity for organizing for sure. You're right about that 100%.
Well, okay, are you saying that you think the Democratic Party is going to go to the right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay, here's the thing about that. There's no such thing as a Democratic Party. It's not like it's not like a party in Europe with a central list and they have the opportunity to discipline people and kick it out. All the Democratic Party is a brand name and a spot on the ballot. Whatever people vote for is what the Democratic Party is. So we have the opportunity to elect more progressive candidates in an open field, in an open primary. I don't know what is going to happen. Could someone more conservative get elected? Yeah. Could someone more to the left get elected? Yeah. Bernie Sanders was nowhere, and he came out of nowhere in 2015. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, but also Bernie Sanders.
The idea that we should just say, if Harris loses, it's going to also mean that we're going to turn even more right wing.
No, the only thing I'm pointing to is post 2016. Look at post 2016. Look at 2020. Look at where we're at now. The Democratic Party only has one speed, and that's going right.
Well, we lost. We lost the debate. We lost the vote. We were close, and we got a lot of progressive people in office, and some of those people have lost, and some new people have joined, and a lot of issues that would have never been considered, like Medicare for all or all these other things, even opposing Israel at all, would never have been considered.
I don't think you're right about that. I just do not foresee a future where the Democratic Party goes, well, I learned my lessons from this last electoral defeat. They're going to do the exact same thing that they did in 2016.
Not. Oh, no, the people in power now are ideological neoliberals freaks, and they're going to try to hold on to power. And it'll be our job to throw them out and have no sentiment and to go after all of them as viciously as we can and throw them the fuck out and try to get a actually decent social democratic platform put together where this generation takes the lead from the rapidly dying boomers. If we let Nancy Pelosi keep power, if we let all these fucking freaks that are supporting the genocide of Gaza keep power, that'll be on us. You know, that's the reality. Is like this cycle, we never got a chance to speak. You know, it was no one ran against Joe Biden, and then it was handed to Kamala, and none of us got the chance to speak. If Kamala loses, the one thing we will get is a chance to speak in the Democratic Party. Maybe we'll lose.
I think you're hopeful. I don't think that that's going to happen.
You have to be a socialist. A socialist has to be irrationally optimistic, fundamentally in our core. If you don't believe that a better future is possible, then you're no longer a socialist. You are a liberal. Doomerism is the last stage of your liberalism.
No, I think I'll keep advocating for the same things that I've been advocating for. I'll keep trying to organize. I'll keep trying to build some kind of counter momentum within the Democratic Party. But having said that, I have no confidence that the Democratic Party will go down.
Let me give you one vignette.
I think they would. I think they would rather blow up the ship than allow.
Of course they would.
Allow any kind of like progressive.
Of course they would. Well, then we don't let them. Well, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Hold on, she hasn't lost yet, guys. Come on.
Okay, yeah, if she wins, well, then that's probably the worst outcome, because when she wins, they're going to do their damnedest to kick out every single person who ever said the word Free Palestine in the history of the planet, and they're going to be trying to get Liz Cheney registered as the next senator from New York City, or from New York.
Why is she going to put I don't want a Republican in the cabinet.
But the donors do.
I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think if they lose... Mike, I think if they lose, they're going to do the same thing.
Okay, well, then you're really just saying the Democratic Party is lost. But I agree with you, but I'm not going to let them have it, because I know something you don't know. The voters don't like them that much. Like, the voters don't really give a shit about these people.
I know, but I think this last election cycle has basically solidified that position that, like, they don't give a fuck that the voters don't like them.
Give a fuck. That's our job, to make them give a fuck by throwing them out. I mean, and make them scared. You know, does it going to happen overnight? No, I don't think it'll happen overnight. Like, look at Sean Fain. The old UAW leadership was literally taking bribes from Stellantis executives to fuck over their workers. It was impossible to run for leadership in the UAW. It was locked down with the most corrupt motherfuckers connected to organized crime, and were anti-left, anti-communist, corrupt pieces of shit taking bribes to fuck over their workers, create two tiers of worker, to get rid of their pensions. And what happened is that the Bernie Sanders people, they went into UAW with Sean, and they said, we're going to bring back the UAW back to its roots. And they won a narrow election, partially using the graduate student voters of the UAW, and they took it over, and then they got the best contract they've gotten in decades. And the left in the UAW is leading the charge. They forced Joe Biden to show up at a picket line, because they said, if you don't, we're not going to endorse you. So he fucking cravenly had to show up with his tail between his legs. What I'm saying is, things that we think are not possible suddenly become possible. So your first mission as a leftist is to stop playing the dumb liberal game of blinkering what you think can happen. We have no fucking idea what's going to happen. I remember I ran for office in 2014 before you people were even alive. Okay. And what happened? I was considered to be a left-wing crazy, and I was like a progressive. I wasn't even a socialist at that point, openly. And I was like running on, I'm going to start a small business incubator at Lehigh University and shit. Like, this is, obviously I wanted to, tax frackers, and I wanted a moratorium on wells and stuff, all sorts of stuff that was relatively small. And Bernie Sanders and the progressive movement blew up, and we now have a totally new idea of what it is, what you can be to be a left wing.
What you're talking about only happens if, I think, in the way that the way that everything is set up, I think that only happens if there is a Bernie style figure running up against a Hillary Clinton style figure that is like an institutional relic that everyone despises, that has like a litany of some valid and some conspiracy theories launched against them. And then you have like a progressive beacon that is ideologically committed and has a strong track record of being a progressive fighter. And then there's still mistakes that Bernie Sanders made in terms of like
By being too
not,
soft.
yeah, not fighting hard enough, this sort of stuff. Like I don't disagree with you on that front at all. I don't disagree with you on that front at all. I think win or lose, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party is still going to be incredibly hostile, not resistant, incredibly hostile to that sort of progressive momentum. That won't stop me from pushing for it. You know, I have I have my own
feeling like you're gonna lose. You know, you gotta like have at least the elan to be like, fuck them. You know, like, and the other thing is, we're never going to see a situation. It's not gonna, if they can see it coming, they're gonna fucking sabotage it. You know, like that's the obvious. It's going to be something we don't expect, and events are gonna happen.
Well, events are, speaking of events that are going to happen, I have to leave right now. Is Israel
bombing Iran?
Because Israel is, according to reports, bombing Iran. So what that means is what that